Hey, how y'all doing? I'm AF, and this is AF Comics, where I review lesser-known indie comics. I give them exposure, and I just talk about comic book-related things. Today, I'm going to be talking about Bitter Roots, written by David F. Walker, Chuck Brown, and illustrated by Sanford Green, published by Image Comics. So, Bitter Root takes place roughly in the 1920s during the Harlem Renaissance in Harlem, New York. So you got jazz, swing, speakeasy, apparently monsters called Jinoo. There's a lot of stuff going around, so it's a pretty, dense comic, and not in a bad way. So we begin the story with a random couple being attacked by an unknown assailant. I'm assuming it's a Jinoo, but you never really know. Could be something else. And if I say Jinoo or Jinoo, just, take that off the top. I'm still adjusting to the word usage. So we jump ahead and we introduce to the Sang Erie family. The main topic of the comic book. The family apparently is involved in some mumbo jumbo, as the officer on the panel, mentions. The Sang Erie family is composed of Berg, Blink, Mama Etta, and Cullen. Their job is to contain and neutralize creatures called Jinoo. Now, Jinoo are aggressive and powerful monsters that seek to wreak havoc and cause all kinds of mayhem. The Sang Erie family make sure they don't do that. Jinoo still cause mayhem, but the Sang Eries at least make sure the Jinoo don't get locked up. So we found out that everybody has a specific role in the collective. The women, Ma Etta and Blink, prepare herbs to make serums to sedate the Jinoo, while Berg and Cullen physically subdue the monsters. However, things aren't as clear cut as they appear. Even though Cullen is a man and does help out, he's not too capable in terms of actually bringing the Jinoo down. At least not how Berg is shown to be. Yeah, man, Cullen basically gets the Oscar Proud treatment. If you ever seen the Proud family, he used to come on Disney, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't, he's the comic relief. He's basically made out a fool out of the story's convenience. So sorry, Cullen, you comic relief. Now, Blink, on the other hand, fits the archetype of the empowered woman. She speaks her mind, and she can more than back it up in a fight, ends up single-handedly downing the Jinoo, effectively doing Cullen's job for him. So after the Sang Eries contain the Jinoo, the scene switches to Dr. Sylvester and Miss Nightsdale. Their introduction is punctuated by the rather gruesome consumption of a random pigeon. Dr. Sylvester can apparently see into far-off places by consuming birds. So I guess it's like having a bird's eye view, but I don't. Apparently, though, this comes at a cost because Sylvester needs an injection after he uses this ability. He mentions that the Sang Erie could help him, and possibly it's from their own use of potions, as you can see them using at some point. Because the Sang Erie later use their own concoction to tame the Jinoo they lock up. Now, near the end of the issue, we find a couple of police officers patrolling through the park. They eventually come across Berg and Cullen and they attempt to arrest them. The idea is people have been being attacked lately, as we see with the couple at the beginning of the issue. And Berg and Cullen are carrying two white people at night. So, it's the 20s and... Anyway, Berg tries to calm the officers down, but like an all too real situation, the police overreact and they get deaded. Not by Berg, though, but by Jinoo. And this Jinoo looks like a bird, and apparently it can talk. So apparently Jinoo has some level of intelligence. So that's a good layer of detail that he added into it. Before we get to see the end of the fight, the scene changes to another marker of the time period. I got to say that this zeitgeist of the roaring 20s is really hitting home right now, because we see another man of color being harassed by the KKK. And harass is putting it mildly, because they're about to hang this man. Fortunately, this is a comic written by two skin folks, so that's not how we end the comic. We end the comic on an epic save, and that's how we bow out. So, here's my verdict. Now, to me, in my honest opinion, Bitter Roots feels the most complete of all the comics I reviewed so far. Well, maybe not compared to, say, Lazarus, but it's definitely got more, I feel like, soul than Lazarus does. Yeah, Berg's characterization as an intellectual was kind of overt in comparison to the more subdued characterizations of the other figures, say for Dr. Sylvester, who's a complete nut. I did learn a slew of new words from Berg, and they say in terms of character creation, you gotta kind of exaggerate their qualities to make them seem more real. So I get the whole wordiness he has. Now, I'm actually grateful that a comic book writer is introducing new words to readers. So, even though it had that little tidbit, overall, I don't think those little the little nitpicks take away from the sense of wholeness I got from this first issue. So, the colors are so lit. I mean, they really pop out the page and add an extra ambiance to the atmosphere. Speaking of the atmosphere, I can't harp enough how glad I am that it's the Roaring 20s. I mean, besides being a pivotal time in my people's history, it's just the right era. It's on the cusp of regeneration and degeneracy, so there's a lot of room to play around here. And the conflict between those of the same race is something that can't be avoided whenever you create a work geared towards a certain demographic. So, however the writers handle the violence of the series, I'm eager to see. Overall, Bitter Roots is a really good read. I'm glad I bought the whole first issue, so I'm going to give it a read my own self as I continue, reviewing other comics. Otherwise, this is AF signing out. Thank y'all for coming. I'll see y'all later.